want you to apply that to this. Who needs the gospel? Everybody. You have something that they need. You have something that the world needs. You have something that this country needs. You have something that this state needs. You have something that this city needs. You have something that this community needs. You have something that your neighbors need. The gospel. Jesus Christ. Listen, the gospel not only saves the sinner, but it stretches the saint. Because it brings me to a point where I have to tell you about it. What did Jeremiah say? He said, and I said, I'm done. I'm not going to speak any more in his name. But his word was in my heart as a burning fire, shut up in my bones. And I was weary with forbearing, and I could not stay. I couldn't stop preaching the gospel. I had to preach the gospel. That's the fire that a Christian needs to have. You know, one of the things they used to tell us at preaching school reminds me of this. It says, if you can't put any fire in your sermon, put your sermon in the fire. Let me tell you this. If you can't preach the gospel, if you're not excited enough about what Jesus has done for you, we need to reevaluate. Number 3, the gathering, hungry hearts and open doors. Verse 33, we are all present before God to hear all the things commanded you by God. Cornelius invited his household. He didn't just want him to hear it. He had everybody. Come on in. When grace came to his door, he opened his house. He wasn't just hungry. He brought others to the table. Listen, I've heard stories, a couple of stories about this. I've heard the story about one Sunday. What's the message? Verse 43. Whoever believes will receive in him will receive remission of sins. This isn't a statement trying to say everything we need to do to be saved. But this is a statement about who can be saved. Whoever. Think about this from Peter's perspective. Peter just spent, 10 years preaching the gospel at this point. Been an apostle for a while. Now he knows what he preached in that first gospel Sunday. What did he preach to this man? He preached Jesus, plain and powerful. His life, his death, his resurrection. He said, we are witnesses. The gospel was not just for the Jews. It wasn't just for the good people. The gospel isn't just for the good people. I think of Jeffrey Dahmer. You know what Jeffrey Dahmer? Y'all heard of him, right? I don't know, 70s, 80s. The Wisconsin, what was it? The Wisconsin Cannibal, is that what they call it? Milwaukee something. I don't know. I wasn't alive. But I've done some study in him. Just because it serial killers are interesting, but more so than that, a serial killer that became a Christian is interesting. He received a tract from Garland Elkins and was baptized into Christ by Lord. Do you know what that should have been the example, the thing that they learned from the Apostle Paul? If Jesus can forgive him, he can forgive anybody. And that's the message that Jesus is trying to give. That's the message that Acts chapter 10 is trying to give. The gospel is for The ground at the cross is level. There are no favorites in the family of God. So what's the response? The Holy Spirit fell on them. Now when the Holy Spirit fell on them, that's not the moment they're saved. That's not when they're saved. I want you to note that. The baptism of the Holy Spirit was not for salvation. But this was a message from God. I want them too. These people belong in my house. Just like Acts chapter 2. Same Spirit, same gospel. But salvation wasn't finished when the Spirit fell. They were baptized into Christ, and it was sealed when they obeyed the gospel. Can anyone forbid water? That these should be baptized who have received the Spirit such as we. Grace opens the door. Faith walks through it, and obedience makes it home. Cornelius needed grace. Peter needed growth. And the church needed a reminder. God is no respecter of persons. Now I want us to make one more application from this. I mentioned it earlier a little bit. But I really want us to take this. If you don't take any other part of the sermon home with you, take this part. When we say, preach the gospel to every creature, this is what it means. Preach the gospel to the good people. Preach the gospel to the bad people. Preach the gospel to the neutral people. Preach the gospel to the people that look like you. Preach the gospel to the people who don't look like you. Preach the gospel to those that are covered from head to toe in tattoos. And preach the gospel to those who don't have a single tattoo on them. Preach the gospel to the bald people. Preach the gospel to those who have hair.